So we're coming up on the 1 month mark for XDefiant Season 1, and with that brings a few things. Number 1, likely another map coming, either Rockefeller or Daytona, but more importantly to the game at large. Number 2, fixes and adjustments to the game that are hopefully ever improving the experience. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming changes that we know of that have been recently revealed to us as of interactions with the developers, and let you know what you need to for the upcoming week or so ahead. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe for more XDefiant, Black Ops 6, and other FPS coverage, and entirely 1000% optional, you can use code Espresso in the in-game store if you'd like to support the channel a little further, if you want to pick up anything like battle passes or even the new bundles in the shop currently. But enough of that, let's talk about the game at hand. First and foremost, a little friendly reminder, Double XP is live as of right now. Great time to work towards your weapon mastery, your weapon unlocks, you name it. It is something that right now is a great time to jump on if you have any time this weekend. This Double XP event is going to be live from now until Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. in the UK. And if it wasn't something that you thought about too much, it is something made abundantly clear by the message of the day. Stack any XP boosters that you end up having for quad XP right now. That is going to help drastically benefit your ranking journey if you're going for something like your weapon mastery. I know that we've talked about it here before. If you play TDM, you go on those streaks, you can end up getting a large sum of weapon XP just by simply having a booster active. So activating that with a Double XP weekend absolutely cannot go wrong. But anyways, make sure to take advantage of that. But let's talk about the changes upcoming, and more specifically, the potential next update coming to XDefiant. One of the key marquee items that could potentially be coming out of this next update is a fix for the career stats in XDefiant. Mark Rubin replied to somebody that mentioned how stats are not fixed, to which he said that a fix was incoming, probably next patch, pending test verification. So it is something that isn't quite confirmed nor denied just yet, but it seems like the fix here for this is targeted at least for the next update within XDefiant. Now I'm curious if this will retroactively count stats. I would imagine so. So everything that you have from Season 1's launch until when this update rolls out, in theory, could be something that is tracked and everything picks up like nothing was ever an issue. But we've also seen this happen in COD 2 where there was a blacked out period that didn't count per se because of error. Because we have no sort of historical context or anything like that for how XDefiant has handled this stuff in the past, right now it's a coin toss, but I would hope we see retroactive stats counted. I mean, there is current mention in the playtime, the mention of GS Commando, so it has been updated to show the name change and reference there. It's just they're not accurate stats. So one would think that by tracking this, the other stuff should in theory track as well, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm also wondering though if this will be the case where a full stat tracking comes into play, where that sort of in-depth, as we mentioned, sort of career stat system is replacing this current one that we have now. And part of me, like the hopeful part of me, thinks that might be the case, because why else would it be pending test verification if it wasn't something of a large update to that system at hand? But maybe that's just my ignorance on game dev, not fully understanding the intricacies of the stat tracking basis of that kind of stuff. But anyways, we also saw that we'll have some more continued netcode adjustments. That kind of is a footnote because that's one of those things that netcode and hitreg are always something that is updated, and as it goes along, it's not something that's going to be a night and day difference. You're not going to see a complete change to your hit registration, your netcode, and your game experience overnight based off of one update. That's stuff that is progressive, that if you take a look at it from now compared to where it was like in the beta last year, you'll probably see noticeable differences if you could play hands-on with both those back to back. But like update to update, you're not going to see too much in terms of changes. So updates and progression towards that very well could be coming in this next update as well. Honestly, I'm kind of expecting it, but it probably won't even be something that's mentioned because it's ever evolving in the background. Beyond that, we learned that there's actually still going to be additional bunny hopping changes coming in the future. It was mentioned by Aches, an issue that was brought up by a community member. He ended up mentioning that there are changes being made to all of those things. The other two being rank specific, we'll touch on in just a second, but bunny hopping changes coming even further. Now, the only thing that I can think of would be further penalties, further adjustments to try and take that out of the equation, because based off of what has already been done, the sort of communal reception of that wasn't enough. I can't imagine they'd end up going back on that and changing it, making it more prominent. But the only thing that I could think of that would be additional bunny hopping changes would be changes to incur the sway penalty on hop number 2 rather than where it's at right now of hop number 3. That was something that a lot of players that called for these sort of changes to be made, that was one of the things that they were like, okay, we can still get off a bunny hop before it actually ends up adjusting you at all. And a lot of those times, if you're in a gunfight, you're probably not spamming it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. 1 to 2 would be enough to get the kill and get out of there. So while this is pure speculation, the only thing that I could think of would be a change from 3 to hop number 2 at that point for when that incursion of the sway penalty kicks in. We'll have to wait and see, but it seems like that is something that is being eyed as a potential change. But other than that, Aches also mentioned that there's going to be changes for ranked in relation to reconnecting to ranked matches and faction limits, both listed as coming soon. Now, reconnecting to ranked matches is obviously something that's huge. I think that right now one of the problems with ranked is the intentional leaving of matches so that your team is shorthanded and then thus essentially are granted a free loss at that point. But if you are someone that, say, disconnects, reconnecting is absolutely huge because not only one, will it avoid a penalty for you, but also it'll give your team a chance to get back into the action and maybe salvage a win out of that scenario where you were down for a little bit of time. And then faction limits, obviously that's something that is huge because you probably shouldn't be seeing 4 Phantoms in a single match where you have 120 HP across the board. You also probably shouldn't see 4 teams with 4 different ADSs and headshot multipliers of a straight 1 rather than the actual bonus you get. Stuff like that, it makes sense to have these faction limits in place. One thing that was also mentioned out of that and wasn't mentioned as a change coming, but rather may just be an interesting talking point, is the potential of locking factions so that once you end up joining a game, you can't actually change. I forget if it was XDefiant or a different game, but that was something that I do remember in the recent years, the last like 2 or 3. I don't remember if it was like one of the early access periods that I played before the game went to beta, but I feel like that actually existed in public matches. So seeing that in ranked also would be something that, especially in that case, wouldn't probably be too bad. And then finally, the last thing that we know of is coming soon, but probably wouldn't be this next update if it is something that is rolled out as of next week, is that new map for Season 1. We, of course, have 2 more maps coming within Season 1 and the next 2 months of play here. The 1 month mark is the second, but based off of how the updates are rolled out, if they're doing it on the same days, it'd likely be the 6th at that point. So I'm curious if we'll see Rockefeller or Daytona. Daytona is that progression style map with escort and such that you'll be able to play on, so it'll be interesting to see if that is dropped first or if it's Rockefeller that's dropped first, kind of top heavying the arena maps where you get both those out of the way early on. But either way, I'll be playing. I just hope that there's a bit of steam going into this and the 3rd and final map drop here a month later beyond that, because I feel like with only 1 or 2 maps post launch of a season here to last 90 days, it just kind of deflates the hype a little bit. I know that I'm personally still having fun when I jump on, but I mean, you also don't have as much reason to jump on per se when the only update of new content is shop items or if it's 1 map per month. So that's one thing that I think, again, as we talked about in our sort of review of Season 1, is a hurdle that XDefiant has to get over. But for now, that is where we're at with this and the upcoming changes to XDefiant in the near future. But for now, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of these changes? Agree with them? Disagree with them? Looking forward to anything? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things XDefiant, all things Black Ops 6, and more FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.